Hey everybody, this is Calvin Waite. I trade crypto for a living. I'm not a registered or licensed financial advisor, planner, or broker, so nothing on this channel should be taken as a recommendation to buy or sell. I also trade all of these things, so I probably have a vested interest in there. But there's plenty of entertainment value and lots of education, so this will be awesome. For those of you who didn't know, my subscription channel is live. So look at the link in the description over at cryptoinfluencers.com and you can see how I make all of my trades and what I do and what I think about everything. This channel is for more hypothetical and looking at trends, and the other one is for actual trading, so you might be interested in that. Good morning, everybody. Today's one of those days that I just have a lot to say. It's just very fascinating what's happening with the markets. I'm looking at on the left-hand side of the screen, this is Bitcoin's most recent price activity. On the right, we are seeing the S&P 500. And it's just been so crazy how closely they have mirrored each other. Let me see if maybe, it's kind of hard to see my little crosshairs, but you can see the crosshairs match on both sides. So if I go over to Bitcoin, you can see that this huge drop right here mirrors this drop here on the S&P. And anytime there was a big drop in the S&P, there was a big drop in the Bitcoin market. And this happened all the way through here. So this sort of drop was a big drop. Then when the market returned, we had a big day. This jump here, for some reason, was really extreme on Bitcoin. And then, so this was the reason it's jumping is that the S&P isn't open every day. So this is a weekend. So Bitcoin continued to move up for a few more days over the weekend until it's high here, and then we had this crash. So they follow each other, and the crosshairs follow each other for the days that they're both open. So this kind of brings me to my next point. I have just been looking at this, and it's so just odd to me that I wanted to point out a couple of things. I pulled down the data for both of these charts, and all I wanted to do was just simply say, if Bitcoin goes up, does the broad market go up? And if it's true, I just put a 1, and if it's false, I just counted how many falses. So since, I've got my thing a little mixed up. The older dates don't matter quite so much, but you can kind of see February, March, April, that there are times when it's extreme. Like in April, if Bitcoin was up, the broad markets were up. It was just like almost every situation. Then there were periods where it cooled off. So like May, Bitcoin was up or down. One was up and the other was down. So we had this kind of mix. And then it really got tight again in June. And then it was relaxed for July and August, that when one was up, the other was down. And I'm not really caring which one, but I was just seeing how we get on these trends. Like at some points during the year, we have the markets going in sync, and others it's just 50-50. You know, they may go together, but they may not. And they're not opposite. So there's no case where the majority of experience is that they will do opposite things. The majority of time, even when they're close, they will both go in tandem. But this is just, it's just very, very loosely correlated. Well, September has just really felt like we've been in lockstep. So we only have 16 market days in September that we have information on, but they've been very, very, very tightly in step. And so then I just did another quick little analysis just to see, if they're down, So I filtered it to the ones that, if they've moved the same direction, what happens, how much more down is Bitcoin than the market? And if they're up, how much more is Bitcoin up than the rest of the market? And you can see that kind of the general idea is that Bitcoin moves about twice as far as the S&P. So if the S&P goes up 1%, then it'll go up 2%. If it drops by 1%, Bitcoin will drop 2% or more. It's a little bit less, so it could go 3% if we're on a third here. So yeah, so actually it's almost 3. So it'll move up 3%. So if the S&P is up 1%, Bitcoin's generally up 3%, and if it's down, a factor of about 2 to 3. So somewhere in there. So with this kind of as our kind of conversation starting point, I wanted to look at September's most recent data. So I'm going to zoom in nice and close, and we'll just look at September. So September, we've been in lockstep. We've been very, very, very tightly correlated. Anything that happens to Bitcoin, it happens on the broad market. The weekends, this weekend here, we were fairly stable till we opened, and the markets were down. So then suddenly we're down, and now we're up. And then we had a weekend, and markets are up, and now we're down again because we're back in session. And so things have been following almost precisely all the way until yesterday. And so yesterday, as you guys know, I've been just theorizing that the Wyckoff accumulation is at play. And if yesterday was our spring, then what we would expect to see on the Bitcoin market, so I'm over here, is that we would expect to see that this would be a local bottom, and that we would start moving up and have some sort of leg up, and then we would come back and we would retrace to this line, and we would essentially establish a higher low, and then we would start moving up out of this range. Well, there have been some things that have strengthened my case. So one of the things that has happened is this was the really, really emotional day, the 21st. So the broad market had a pretty decent sell-off, and where Bitcoin and the S&P have been following each other almost every single time, it was very strange for the S&P to drop almost 1% on the 22nd, and Bitcoin to go up by 5% out of nowhere. And this out of nowhere situation is I believe, this is the case I'm making, is it that this is the Wyckoff accumulation, that this is the spring that's pushing us up. So they don't always mirror each other, but they have almost, especially this month, they've almost been exactly in lockstep, except for this situation here. And this strengthens the case. Of all days that there should have been a sell-off, wouldn't you expect that the day that we have the lowest close this entire market cycle, that we would fully go in lockstep with the rest of the market? Shouldn't we have fallen? If S&P dropped 1%, we should have fallen about 2.5% or 3%. And with us closing at the lowest low of this, the lowest close of this market cycle, it should have been negative. And in fact, we completely did the opposite and had a monster day. So now we wake up today and we're back in lockstep. But my question is this, I guess where this will fall apart is if we get a new close that's below here. If we get a brand new close below this low here, then my theory is going to kind of fall apart, or else at least it's at risk. You know, do I know what a Wyckoff spring is going to look like every single time? I'm not entirely sure, but all I do know is that traditionally we drop outside of the normal trading range and then we return back to the trading range. And so on my chart, so now I'm gonna kind of, I think I've made the case with the S&P. So now let's look at Bitcoin's price action again. And this is, in my view, this is our trading range. And we have done this for a full 100 days. The 100-day moving average starts, so it ends here. So because our 100-day ends with this data point, that's why the 100's leveling off and we're back in the red zone, because the 50's now trading below the 100, because the 100 was dropping fast and we even dropped below our 50 for a minute. And now all of our averages are kind of lined up. So my question is, if the S&P continues to make lower lows, because if I zoom out, our lowest close on the S&P this cycle is 365, and this happened on the 16th. And on the 16th, this was a few days before our selling climax, which happened right here. So after this selling climax, this is where the S&P dropped, and the S&P is trading higher than this. Bitcoin's been mirroring everything except for yesterday. And if S&P goes on to make lower lows and Bitcoin does not lose this low, then it's going to strengthen the case that we are in an accumulation and that we are not going to necessarily mirror the rest of the broad market indefinitely. I mean, it's always a struggle when the rest of the market is down. It's going to impact the amount of people that are able to buy and different things. But if whales decide to push Bitcoin up and create sort of a safe haven for cash, a lot of money could flow into this, and it could be super profitable for these whales that are working through this kind of market manipulation. So where does this fall apart and where does it remain intact? I've sort of defined our trading range right here at this it's about 18,800. If we stay above 18,800, I'm going to feel pretty confident that this is a local low, and we'll need a couple more days really to confirm for sure. And then if we do have a retest, which is likely, that's part of the program. And I don't think this is the retest. I don't think a single day is going to represent the final retest of a bottom of our trading range. But I'm watching this because if we can close a little higher, have a couple of days, and then retest, and we do not break below it, we don't have a close below it, we'll establish our higher lows, and we really could start moving into a different situation, even with the rest of the market struggling, which is, it's counterintuitive. And so all of this is a little bit, I'm just looking at what I see. The other thing that might strengthen the case is that, not only has Bitcoin historically bottomed out around this time, there's a lot of indicators that also say that as well. As I've mentioned to you before, the weekly RSI was kind of the biggest indication for me that we had hit a bottom. We'd only broken below the 30 on the RSI on the weekly twice before. One was at this bottom here, one was at this bottom here, and then most recently it was a couple of days in here, but it originally broke below on our weekly drop right here. So is it possible? I mean, it is possible, but it's just unlikely. So I'm looking at the greater than 50% chance of things happening. So now we're looking at Bitcoin, and honestly, if we were to start leveling off or starting to have a couple of higher supports and starting to move up into a better range, it could set us up for, if this Wyckoff theory is correct, then we would start moving towards a little bit more of higher ranges and a possibility for markup in the next couple of months. And one thing I wanted to bring to your attention is that Cointelegraph keeps track of monthly returns, so I'm just going to use theirs just because it's a little easier. And I can zoom in and everything. Look at that. So, where September is historically a very the percentage of time that we're having a red month is pretty high in September. This has been kind of a rough year, so we've had quite a few red months, and the greens have been very low. Like August was almost flat. And so nothing really, it's just been kind of bearish all year long, which is, that's the year we're in. But if you notice, one of the most bullish months of the year historically has been October. So even these years where there's a lot of red, even on both sides of October, October has generally been pretty decent. And even this year, 2018 was another bear year, so it would make sense to compare 2018 to 2022 because that's the same year of this cycle. So we had red month after red month after red month. But you can see that even in October it was the lowest red month of all. It was 3.8%. So historically, October has been pretty decent. So that makes you wonder, is there a possibility that October could be a stronger month for Bitcoin? And I think there's a decent case. I have been looking at our monthly chart for quite a while, and I talked to you all about this formation, how usually this is a continuation, and I was hoping for a bounce in September, that we would hit some sort of low and then pull back up. And this number, where we opened, it was around 20,000, but the true bottoms of these are like 19.8, somewhere in there. If we were anywhere in the vicinity, if we could pull our close, so we still have a week left, 7 days, 7 hours. If we were able to move up even a little bit by end of month, it could set us up for a reversal in October. Like this could possibly play out. So it's not, we're absolutely at the critical, this is sort of the turning point. If the Wyckoff is in play, then we trade in a range, and then we have a spring event where we pop out of range and pop back in. And as long as we pop back in, find support on the bottom of our trading range, and start moving up to higher ranges, like this all will be very classical, and it'll be textbook as far as the Wyckoff accumulation goes. And that really could set us up for a better October. So there's a lot of things at play. I'm very, very, very interested in the close of today's candle, because if we have a candle, and we've got a decent tail, so we had a nice sell-off, but if we can close anywhere about 50% or better especially 50% or better of this candle, it's going to be very bullish. It's going to be very strong, especially when you take into consideration the absolute horrible day that the S&P is having. This is the response I thought Bitcoin would have with all of the bad macroeconomic news and everything. And this is exactly playing out the way you would expect a response to that information. But Bitcoin's doing the opposite. And I think it's because we are in a Wyckoff accumulation. So anyway, I think I've kind of made a case for this. Honestly, markets will do what they want to do. And I am simply looking at the higher than 50% chance, higher than 50% outcome. And there's just a lot of support to say that this is the greater than 50% outcome. Just a couple last things. Ethereum looks spectacular. We did find we had a handoff between resistance and support. Our close yesterday was a bullish engulfing, and it closed above the 200 again. And now even with our negative day, we did find support off the 200. This is prime for a local bottom. This is the chart that you would look at and go, oh yeah, looks like we're about to have a leg up. How strong the leg is, I'm not sure, but this does look like we're about to have a little bit of a reversal, which is pretty cool. And with yesterday's close, almost across the board, almost 90% of all of these coins that I watch, they all had a bullish engulfing candle, all of them. All of, like, 90%. And bullish engulfing candles are usually a local bottom. So a lot of the altcoins, I believe, are going to start moving up. Everything's red, but when you actually look at the chart on a lot of these, the bullish engulfing happened. The red is actually showing a support, and if we close above the halfway point, there's a strong case that a lot of the alts will move. So this could be a little bit of a turning point. I don't know how long it'll last or anything, but it's giving me a lot of confidence in the positions that I have currently. So these are all looking awesome. The other thing that I wanted to point out was the XRP and XLMs. These guys just really got into a good place, and they were launching last night, and now they're pulling back pretty hard. I took a position in XRP back down here, and it's gonna with a bearish. I mean, if this looks like this at the end of day, I'm practically going to have no choice but to close this position because this candle is so horrid. It's just on its way down, and I don't know how long or anything, but the likelihood of this continuing after this is essentially a top candle is very low. So anyway, that's going to be something we'll be looking at on the Pro channel, reviewing that, and then the rest of the markets are kind of following Ethereum and Bitcoin, which I think are at a turning point. The only other position that I took that was of any worth or any mention was that I did take a second short position in Luna Classic. The reason being that we have a bear flag here. We had a confirmation that we dropped out right here. And so anyway, if we close below this, it'll essentially be a form of cup and handle. It's not the prettiest, but it'll pretty much be a pretty strong selling point that the market's falling apart for Luna Classic. So I'm going to be heading. I took the short right at close, and I'm expecting to touch this top wick back here from June. So we'll see if that plays out. But I think now that I have momentum on my side, this is a much safer short. So anyway, going for that. And apart from that, we're just really, I'll just be watching this like a hawk. It's just so close. We're just in a really interesting place. And so the next few days it'll either confirm or it'll all fall apart. So I can't say that we're out of the woods and that we have the confirmation we need, but it's shaping up to look like that. So anyway, we will check in tomorrow and see how things have played out for today's close. Thanks for making it to the end of my video. Make sure you keep those trades small. Don't force a trade. Don't get impatient. And if you want to see how all this works, please come over and check me out on the subscription channel at cryptoinfluencers.com. Again, the link is in the description.